I didn't realize I was already unmuted. I love that opening. I think shout out to Culture Casino. Great opening. Welcome everybody to the Monday Night, a Song of Ice and Fire stream, streamed by the Crossroads, we like to call it. And tonight we will be discussing the second book in the novella series of Dunk and Egg, which is The Sworn Sword. But let me first introduce my guest on the panel, and that would be Stig Stannis Baratheon Kenobi.
Lord of Dragonstone, Master of Ships, King of Westeros, Lord of Storm's End, King of the Andals, the Ruiner, and the First Man, Lord of the Seven Kingdoms, Protector of the Realm. All who deny that are my foes. Let no man claim ignorance as a defense. They'll bend the knee, or I'll destroy them. The cold winds are rising. Time to hail to the king. Isn't that right, Sir Davos?
He cut off my fingers and made me a lord. Fantastic. That was a good little extra you added there. I like that.
I'm constantly at. I don't know. I think one of them was from one of the trailers, promos for
nice
season 5.
Season 5, where it all started going to shit. All right. So, how you doing tonight, Stig? Before I say hello to the chat.
Quite well. Been playing old video games, and
what is the one right now?
I beat a Star Wars game called Mysteries of the Sith. Never beaten it before,
I think I remember that.
Yeah,
what system was that on?
PC.
Oh, it's a PC one. Okay.
Yeah, and then I did a poll on 98 maybe.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and then I did a poll on Twitter on what I should play next, and
right,
I got Republic Commando, which is another Star Wars game I've never beaten. So I'm having fun.
Nice. You know what? And that's the most important thing. I really believe that. Have fun. Whatever you enjoy it. That's my advice to anybody. Don't hide what you enjoy. I did that for too long because I was like big into sports in high school and stuff, and I always hid my fandom enjoyment until one of the other guys on the football team, let his Star Wars flag fly. And I was like, you know what? Why am I hiding this? I love Star Wars. I love this stuff. But kids do stupid things. All right. So we have the great story man, Jack. You might know him as George B.D. Lucas. He is a YouTuber. He's first and foremost a writer. He has some great great videos out there about writing, reading his own work. I think he has Ordsboard working on a voiceover for one of his stories. I mean, I do good voices, but whatever. It's cool. Ordsboard's great. But he's a very talented guy. So if you have not, please make sure to subscribe to Storyman Jack. And if McKinney could drop his link, I'd appreciate it. And then we have the great Miss Martin Muses.
McKinney.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Come on, McKinney. Do your job.
Do your job. And we have our usual Monday night panelist, but she hasn't really read the novellas yet, so she said she just enjoyed the chat. Miss Martin Muses, but please make sure you check out her channel. She does Buffy and all different stuff, and it's great. So please make sure you guys check it out.
Or since it's Buffy, maybe you should stake it out.
And talking about Bikini 90, he says, good afternoon and welcome to A Song of Ice and Fire book club. Please share and smash that like button. I would appreciate that. YouTube hasn't been sending my notifications out to all my subscribers. I have been losing subscribers left and right, so it really takes the help of the fandom. So if you guys don't mind, share it out, and get your grandmother to subscribe. That'd be great. And one of my biggest supporters, is Tina Bojan. Good evening, friends. She is a channel member.
I'd say minions.
Say that again. Subject? I like subjects.
Yeah, subject. She's a subject.
I think being, a Game of Thrones, subject sounds good.
Yeah.
Minions sounds like I'm sending them out to do something. Subjects are like, they're under my rule.
I bet you if you ask, though, or tell her, she'll do it. Tell her to, burn that village over there.
Yeah, right. Or, tweet this for me. One or the other. It's pretty close. We got Bone saying, "What up, people?" with a cool cat right there. We have Brutal Morningwood, my friend, both Bone and Brutal Morningwood. You guys are great. Hail and heartfelt hey, howdy, hey. Hope you guys are having a great night. And we have the fourth wave mascot himself, Tyler Mango. What a great guy. Hail to all. I don't even know if he's into A Song of Ice and Fire, but he always supports us. So thank you, sir. Mason, do you want to jump on with us? Have you ever read this book? Let me ask you that first. If you have, put it in the chat. You've been on my show before and you've done a great job. If not, we'll get you on another night.
It would be amazing if you came on.
It would really be amazing. And we have Wookiee Supremacy, supports all of us. And he says, Murph, Gershmer, Ger, Der, Mershir, Dershiker, the Earth, Mershir, the Birkajer, the Mork, Spork. I think he was going with the Swedish Chef. I went with it, though. Oh, he does say that. And he hasn't been here in a few weeks in my chat, but finally has time for one of his friends, the author, Stephen Walton. Is this the show about Flashdance? Close enough.
Yeah,
close enough.
It's the Flash Dance of Dragons.
Yes, Flash Dance of Dragons. I like that. And who else do we have? Lord Krakenhead 33 up in the house again. So I guess we didn't. He likes our stuff. So I'm glad you're here. Hail the panel. Lord Krakenhead always has some good stuff to tell us in the chat. Knows his lore and his meta stuff with Game of Thrones, which I definitely appreciate. All right, Mason, you haven't read it, but we're going to get you on very soon. So DM me so I remember I said that. All right. So, Stig, when was the last time you remember reading this book, The Sworn Sword?
Ages ago. I'm going to be honest, I don't remember too much about it. I remember Bloodraven was in it, right?
No, he's in
he's
Mystery
in the next
Night.
one?
Yes.
Well, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is an important book in all of the Song of Ice and Fire stuff, for the simple fact that prior to, I want to say it's a Feast for Clash of Kings, George, I don't think ever thought about adding anything about this Blackfire rebellion or the Black Fires. We get that one comment from Kat when she's talking to Rob about his will and about legitimizing Jon Snow, and that even though Rob trusts Jon, it's his children's children that will try to, unseat Rob's children as king. And that was referencing the Blackfires. I don't know how much George has really thought of it at that point, but this is the first book where you get an info dump, I would say, about the Blackfires.
Yeah,
and how important they are.
To be honest, though, when it comes to this series, info dumping is actually a good thing.
Right. Well, wouldn't you say these books are kind of an info dump for the main series in a way?
Yeah, they flesh out some background stuff.
Right.
And like I said, especially the one with Bloodraven is probably very relevant. And the upcoming one that takes place at Winterfell.
Oh, yeah, the She-Wolves of Winterfell, I believe it's going to be.
Yeah, I think that's going to... I think that one's going to answer a couple of questions.
Mm-hmm. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. I have to find something really quick. Well, I think it's going to answer... So at this point in the series, with everything that goes on with Egg, when he becomes king, this is the moment around the Blackfire Rebellion where you have the Hour of the Wolf, but you don't know much more of what's going on with the kingdom, with the North, other than, it's not Rickon North. It's, I forget which Northern Lord, Lord Stark came down, but pretty much dealt out punishments, sealed the deal on the kingship. I want to say that was that the Dance of Dragons? That wasn't the Blackfire. I think I'm messing that up.
Yeah.
I want to say that I think I confused it with the Dance with Dragons. That was a little earlier. But we are, George wrote this, and I really believe a lot of him writing this was so he can flush out the Blackfire Rebellion. Real quick, though, I just want to read from the author Stephen Walton, 77% funded. He's talking about, I believe, his second volume of the Fandom Menace, volumes 2. And he says, it's coming along well. Thank you for asking. I'm thinking I'll release volume 2 and give the series a rest. So, guys, please make sure you support independent creators. Steven, it is like a history book. It's funny. It's well done. And he's pretty much in the moment where you get people like Gary and Geeks and Gamers and Midnight's Edge and world-class bullshitters. Like, you're going to get all these people that we, some of us were inspired to create our own channels from. So if you could drop the link, Steven, in the chat for people to go to your Indiegogo. I just actually bought my copy or reserved my copy last night. But thank you, my friend, for creating. Sorry about going off topic there for a second.
I didn't know he was doing 2 sci-fi books as well. Well done, much respect. Sticking through it and actually finishing it is
right.
It's something very few people do. A lot of people start books, but and they have all these ideas, but they don't finish it. And Steven is showing a tremendous amount of discipline
and fortitude. Yeah.
I mean, actually finishing it. So much respect, Steven. Well done. Twice.
And it's amazing, right? And truthfully, he's creating these books so people will remember what we went through, where the creators of our favorite series and fantasy and sci-fi attacked us and called us instaphobes and called us racist and called us all these names. He's documenting this so we never forget, because they just want to turn the page and rewrite history. He's reminding us of what they did. They called our families names because they still loved us.
I posted something about that today. About Disney Lucasfilm.
Right.
When they made Rogue One, they basically ripped off a very popular EU story about Kal Katarn and Jan Ors stealing the Death Star plans. And Jan Ors, Jyn Erso.
Yeah. I didn't realize that was also an EU book.
Oh yeah. Big time ripoff there. And fun fact, Jan Ors was Asian. So they whitewashed an Asian.
So they whitewashed it. Oh
yeah. And then a few months later, they called the fans racist for not liking Rose Tico. Well, the fans weren't the ones that whitewashed people.
Right. That's amazing. Well, see, and this is why he needs to document this. That's why it's not a joke when we call him the historian. He documents all this stuff, because years from now, people will look back and see how certain franchises may have failed or went through a renaissance because of listening to us. But it is what it is, and Steven is not becoming a millionaire from this. So please, guys, support him. Let the guy at least break even. Get on it, help him out. He'll never admit to that he doesn't care about the money, but I know he doesn't. He just wants to write these novels. And with your help, he'll be able to cover the cost of shipping and all that stuff and make sure that it goes to print and has a beautiful cover. So guys, support the man. I will make sure to keep showing this throughout the stream. Are you a writer, Stig? Do you write? I want to say you've told me you've written before.
I used to. I got published 5 times.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. I wrote fantasy stuff.
Right.
Yeah, lots of lore books and things.
That's so dope. Like the stuff I'm in love with, pretty much.
Yeah.
All right. we got to talk after this. I want your first one. All right. So back to the story at hand. And if anybody has a question in the chat, make sure just put, I'm stealing this from Odin, at Sporking question. And I'll be able to see that. It won't highlight or anything, but I'll able to decipher it. Or, you can send a super chat or a super sticker. That'd be fine too. So this book takes place almost a year and a half after the Hedge Knight. So, Dunk takes on Egg as his squire. His father wants them to go to King's Landing and have Dunk be part of his household guard. Dunk says, why? I'd rather, take your son to teach him about the world and teach him about, truly being a squire for a Hedge Knight. And he agrees to it. So now, Egg's about 10 years old now. They went to Dorne trying to find the puppeteer. They never found her. On their way back, they go through Old Town. We get a mention of, Aemon. I want to call him Father Aemon, but it's not Father Aemon. It's
Maester.
Maester Aemon, thank you. We get a mention about him being at the Citadel learning. And we also find out during this time, there was they call it the year of the Great Spring Sickness. And that's from 209 to 210 AC, where large amounts of Westeros population died off. And the least hit were Dorne and the Vale because they shut their ports down. And Lannisport and King's Landing did not. So it's like any other plague, probably came on, the fleas on mice. But you find out that like 40% of the population of King's Landing died. And you also find out that King Daeron died. His two kids, and I want to say one's Varys and one's Baelor, maybe. I'm forgetting their names. The High Septon dies. A third of his Devout die. Almost all the Silent Sisters die. So there was a lot going on. And when the king, oh my God, why don't I have that up? When the king that takes over, he asks Bloodraven, who's his cousin, to become his hand. Bloodraven takes over King's Landing pretty much, takes any of the dead bodies, puts them in the dragon pit, and at night burns them 10 deep with dragon fire. And that gets referenced in this story too. So there's a lot going on in the series that feeds into the history, the meta history of Westeros, as we're just following along a 7-foot guy and a little bald kid named Egg. I find that interesting what George did with these novellas.
And they're kind of refreshing because there's only one POV, really. It's
right.
It's not like the main books. And
right, so we hear it all from we all hear it from just Dunk's point of view.
Yeah.
Yep.
I still,
sorry to interrupt you. Keep going.
I still think Egg and Varys are the same person, but
how old would that make? And granted, magic does what magic does, but if this is 209, around 209, he's 10 years old, and the story, our main story, takes place when? I want to say it's like.
Well, Maester Aemon wasn't he 110?
Somewhere around there, and he's probably like 12 or 14 in this story. So it's pretty much 100 years later.
Yeah.
Like 301, maybe.
No.
If anybody has that info, throw it in the chat. What year the main story?
I'd say around 90. Around 90 years. Bloodraven's still alive too.
Right. That's more of a magical thing. Oh yeah, guys, spoilers for any of the books of A Song of Ice and Fire, the show, whatever is out and published. We might bring it up because it helps with this topic. So spoilers ahead.
Also, bad news in the chat.
What's that?
Bad news in the chat.
What's that?
If you check the next message.
Let me see. Whose message?
From Miss Morton. Below the one you've marked now. There you go.
Josiah has been demonetized?
Yeah.
Wow. Why? Because he has a certain viewpoint and he speaks it, and YouTube doesn't want, those, even though it's supposed to be an open platform, it seems to me that it's only a certain type of voice that keeps getting silenced on YouTube. So is it truly an open platform?
I do remember Mr. Jack and Mr. Zuckerberg and other people standing in front of the Senate saying this was not a thing. And they said it under oath.
Yes, they did. And Zuckerberg has been doing better with it. YouTube has been quieter about it. Twitter has just been blatant. They have just been blatant. And, after that footage leaked back in mid to late 2016, 17, where the Google higher-ups talked about how to get rid of Donald Trump, in 2020, they did just what they said they were going to do. They use their power and their platform to villainize the president and make another guy who has made many racist comments, supported and wrote the 94 crime bill, which was very racist towards African-American or just black men, with a, running mate who put more black men in prison in the past, when she was in that position of attorney general, I think it was at the time, more black men in prison and wouldn't allow them to use DNA to get out. But yet a guy is talking about a story that he gets. Usually that's what Josiah does, find a story from an article, reads it and gives his point of view, and they silence him. I'm sorry, I went on a tangent there. I don't want to see it on either side. I don't want people on the left or the right being silenced.
Yeah, agreed. Free speech has to go both ways for everyone.
Yes. And you cannot put limits on free speech. The only limits I believe in and understand are you threaten somebody's life and, instill that in somebody else to do, or yell like fire. I can understand that. But anything else, the idea of hate speech or anything, what you're going to do is cover up who people really are. Instead of them saying the stupid things they say that are hateful, they'll just hide it better. And then you won't know who you're against. The idea of free speech is so you can debate anyone or just walk away and not listen. But yet, I don't understand why these companies keep doing it. I don't understand. So Josiah, if you like to jump on a stream on Wednesday night or a Saturday, let him know, guys. I am inviting him on the dump. He could either pick Wednesday or Saturday. Tweet the man away, please, because that's BS. Tell him to tell his story on the dump.
Let it be known far and wide.
Yes, sir. Tell the town crier. Let it be said that I am not fair. But back to the meta history of this story. I'm sorry, that really pissed me off. So I guess Dunk and Egg were in Dorne when this kicked off, and with Dorne, shutting down their ports, there was a lot less deaths. But I guess in the whole kingdom, tens of thousands of people died. They say that a man could wake up feeling as healthy as an ox, and by that nightfall be dead from this disease. So, and I have to look this up real quick. Who is the king at the time? A Song of Ice and Fire. So, the king during Dunk and Egg, because Daron was, after Aegon, it was Daron. I know that much. The Unworthy. After Aegon the Unworthy, it was Daron. That's what caused the Blackfire Rebellion. King during. Sorry, got anything you could say while I do this? King during the Sworn Sword. All right. Riveting stream right now. Sorry guys, but it's killing me that I can't remember the person's name. It might be Daron II, but I just can't remember. Let's put king. Do you have a clue who he is by any chance there, Stig?
King Daron. Yeah. King Daron II.
It is King Daron II? Okay.
Yeah, that's the synopsis you're supposed to read.
Oh, yeah, it has it in there? One. All right. Yeah. So why don't I share that? Yeah, I'm going to start reading, everyone. Great stream. Glad I'm here for you guys. Thank you to the 11 people watching right now. You are true, what are we calling them? Not supporters. They are true subjects. Thank you. All right. So here is the synopsis from a wiki of Ice and Fire. So that's westeros.org. Give them a big shout out. You can find anything you really want about A Song of Ice and Fire from here. So a year and a half after the Hedge Night, the Seven Kingdoms are suffering from a terrible summer drought, which in turn had followed the Great Spring Sickness. Dunk has sworn his sword to Sir Eustace Osprey of Standfast in the Reach. Eustace is an old dun knight who dwells on the dual losses of his family and his ancient honor. Dunk and Egg returned to Standfast from a short journey to Dosk for supplies. Upon their return, they discover that a local... Did I start early enough? Yeah I did. Okay. The local stream has dried up while they were gone. Suspicious and unheeding of the warning by fellow sworn sword Sir Bennis of Brown Shield, Dunk sends Egg ahead to stand fast and goes to investigate. Upstream, Dunk and Bennis, they discover that a dam has been built on the order of Lady Rowan Weber of Coldmount. When the working men refuse to take down the dam, Sir Bennis cuts one of them with his longsword, which was not a smart idea. At Standfast, Dunk and Bennis find Sir Eustace cleaning the shield of Sir Wilbert Osprey, who lived in the time of King Gillis III Gardner and King Lancel IV Lannister. So this is definitely pre-Aegon's conquest. When Eustace is done telling the Hedge Knight the story of Sir Wilbert, they inform him about the dam. When Eustace hears how Bennis taught one of the workers a lesson, he is quick to realize that Lady Rowan will not suffer such an insult. He orders Bennis and Dunk to gather men from his 3 villages and train them to fight. However, they only manage to find 8 men. After a day of training, Bennis tells Dunk that the peasants will not be able to stand against Rohan's knights. Now, I don't know if you pronounce it Rohan's. I believe he's taking that from...
I think the H is silent. It's probably Rowan.
Okay. But I almost feel like he's taking that from Lord of the Rings.
No, that would be Rohan.
That would be Rohan. I thought he did a play on words because there's a couple things that George does. And he brings up in this story for the first time, like instead of the Battle of the Pelican Field, it's the Battle of the Redgrass Field. You know, certain things from Return of the King kind of are represented in this book. But we shall read on. Discussing the situation with Egg, the young boy suggests using his booth in which he has hidden a ring with his father's personal sigil on it. Dunk tells him that although it is honorable for Egg to save, I'm guessing, the small folk serving Eustace, his identity has to remain a secret. So Egg was planning on presenting his father's ring, which would say he's a prince, and squashing this. But Dunk does the smart thing and keeps it a secret. That night, Dunk dreams about burying his horse Chestnut in Dorne. He digs the grave while Sir Arlen of Pennytree, Prince Baelor Targaryen, and Baelor's eldest son, Valar, comment. More and more people of Standfast appear, and eventually Egg is buried alive underneath the sands of the Dornish desert. Would you say that has significant dream he has there? Would we're to take it as a dream of the past, these people dying to help Dunk survive. But then you hear about, Egg being buried near Dorne, or in Dorne, but near Dorne too. Could it be a little bit of, I don't know, seeing into the future a bit?
Yeah, kind of like a little bit like how Daenerys has her dreams, right?
Right. Like prophetic somewhat, but maybe not even realizing it.
Yeah, because, George wouldn't put it in there if it wasn't. Yeah.
The time prophet, I do not have it figured out. I'm just hotspotting my phone in a hotel room right now. But thank you. I'm glad it sounds clear as day. All right, so I'm going to rip through this so we can discuss it. Let's see. The next morning, Eustace witness a training which does not go well. Eustace compares Bennis and Dunk training the men to the time his sons trained their fathers before marching to war in the first Blackfire Rebellion. Still mindful of his dream from the previous night, Dunk asks Eustace if there truly is no other way, and the knight suggests a blood price, an ancient form of Weregeld. Weregeld. Do you know what Weregeld means?
Let's see. Where's the word?
While you look that up while I finish this sentence. Eustace refuses to break a vow he had taken decades before, never to set foot on Coldmouth's ground again, and so Dunk offers to go in Eustace's stead. Dunk arrives at Coldmoat. I keep saying Mount Coldmoat, where he realizes that. Yep.
Found the word. It's an old word for man price or blood money. It was established on a person's life, paid as a fine or.
So you're paying. You're paying like a blood debt.
Or a compensation for damages to the family when the person's life was taken or otherwise is injured.
Oh, okay.
So basically, it's compensation.
Yeah. So it's compensation instead of bloodshed. That's what Dunk's saying.
Yeah.
Well, Dunk is always tries not to fight, even though he's usually the biggest guy. Again, shows us that he is in all of the George R.R. Martin, A Song of Ice and Fire stories. This is a true knight who's actually not a true knight. Stands by the vows of a knight and tries to do things peacefully if he can, which, not many others in any of the stories are a true knight like him, except for maybe his ancestor, Brienne. Lady Brienne. Yeah, descendant. Yes. Oh, I said ancestor. Thank you, buddy. So Dunk arrives at Coldmoat, where he realizes that the terrible stories he has been told about Rohan are not completely true. Rohan is a pretty young woman to whom he is attracted instead of an old widow. He is informed that the river does not belong to Sir Eustace, but had been granted by King Daeron II Targaryen to House Weber for its service in the Blackfire Rebellion. It had been taken from House Osgrade in punishment for their support of Daemon the First Blackfire. So let's just talk about that real quick. So throughout the beginning of this story, Sir Osgrade, or whatever his name, Eustace, keeps talking to Dunk about a true king, loyal to the king. What he doesn't realize is he's actually talking about Daemon Blackfire, who was they call him the great bastards of King Aegon the Fourth, I believe he's four, the unworthy, on his deathbed. Bastard. On his deathbed, he legitimized all his bastards. And by doing that, even though it really doesn't, in a lot of people's eyes, it washes away that disgrace of being a bastard. Prior to that, he also gave Daemon the ancestral sword Blackfire, which was King Aegon the First, the conquerors. And throughout the history of all the kings after that, they all were presented that sword. So by giving it to his bastard son that he just legitimized, a lot of people felt he should be the king, and not Daeron. Daemon played the part. He was very, even though he had Dornish look, no, he didn't have Dornish looks. He was very Targaryen looking. Daeron was more of Dorne looking. So the whispers that, is Doran or Daeron actually the king's, son, or is it really, Daemon? So it split the country in half, and people were whispering in Daemon's ear. He loved his brother, but he, the whispering got enough where he believed the hype and started the rebellion. A lot. What would you say, Stig? Half the country went Targaryen, half went Blackfire. There were some battles. One of the greatest battles that ended the first Blackfire rebellion was the Battle of the Red Grass Field, where
if you think about it, you have a pandemic, you have a country split in half, and you have fake news.
Wow. Was George a prophet?
I don't know, but there's fake news against Lady Roland, right?
There's a lot of fake news on both sides. Yes, there is fake news.
Foreshadowing, indeed.
Right. Put it this way. There's such fake news that people believe we have a president-elect already, which only, the news outlets, said that. It wasn't the government. But people believe that it's over, which it really isn't. But that's another story for another stream. But a lot of that's going on here. You're right. You have all these, people in their courts whispering in their ears, mostly Daemon, telling him, you look Targaryen. He gave you Blackfire. Your brother doesn't look like a Targaryen. You should have been the king. And, he decides to rebel. And a valiant knight he was. And if you ever want to read about really cool battle in the history of A Song of Ice and Fire, it's the Red Grass Field. Daemon has a one-on-one battle with Lord Colbury, I think, one of the Kingsguard. And when he injures him severely, he actually stops the battle to have maesters take him to his personal maester. And, it really came down to Bloodraven with his Raven's Claw, which are archers. Bloodraven has Dark Sister, which is the other ancient Valyrian steel sword of House Targaryen, but he rather use a weirwood bow. And by killing Daemon's son, he knew it would draw Daemon out to try to save his own son. And when he did that, he landed, 7 shafts into him, killing him, ending the rebellion. Losing an eye during a battle with Bittersteel. It's such a cool part of the history, the Blackfire Rebellion. And I really think George figured it out while he was writing this book.
Could be.
Well,
sad thing is, though, that if they do a TV show about the Blackfire Rebellion, right?
Yep.
And they follow the other shows, it's not going to make any sense. Because they fucked up the main one so badly.
They really did.
Yeah, so that's because they won't be able to do Bloodraven right without contradicting the previous show.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. I didn't even think about it like that. Here, let's finish this quick. The summary. Duncan Egg also learned that the lady has to remarry within a short time or lose her lands to a cousin, as stated in her father's testament. I'm guessing will. Her father also tasked Sir Lucas Longitch to protect her against unworthy suitors. Sir Lucas has interpreted this to shield her against all suitors and try to get her to marry him. The meeting does not end well. Lady Rohan refuses to break up the dam or take the blood price. She demands that Sir Bennis will be turned over to her, or else she will take him herself. Shocked and angered by all the revelation, Sir Duncan wants to leave Osprey's service. However, as he realized that the villagers will not stand a chance against Lady Rohan's well-armed soldiers, he decides to stay. So again, protecting the small folk over, even what he believes. The next morning, Sir Osprey, Dunk, and Egg ride to the river where they meet Lady Weber and her small army. Sir Dunk asks and is granted a private parley with Lady Weber. He shows her Egg's ring, proving Egg is prince of the blood. He cuts his own cheeks to make up for the wounding of her man. Lady Rohan is impressed but still demands an apology from Sir Eustace, who refuses. The parties decide to settle the matter in a fight between their champions. Duncan fights Sir Lucas and is able to kill him, but almost drowns in the process, which is a really cool fight to read because it's so like melee and just you don't even know what's going on, and it's pretty cool. When he wakes up, Sir Eustace and Lady Rohan have settled their difference and have married. Duncan is asked to remain and stand fast as their captain of the guard, but refuses. Barely recovered, he prepares to leave. Lady Rohan meets him at the stable and offers her finest horse and her apologies. Dunk refuses both, but Rohan demands that he takes something of her. They kiss passionately, and Dunk cuts her braids so that he will have something to remember her by. So that is the Sworn Sword summary. I feel like it doesn't give the story what it deserves. What do you have to say to that summary, sir?
No, I agree with you. There was more to the story than that, but at the same time, though, it's a very straightforward story.
Right?
It's basically Dunk being a knight, honorable knight.
Right. And keeping the honor. I think some of this artwork is Mike S. Miller, who is my thumbnail. Want to give him a shout out. He's in the description. Please don't copyright this one. Yeah, you're right. It's him trying to be a good knight. It's him trying to do the right thing, even when being a sworn sword it's not like just being a hedge knight. You actually sworn your oath and vows to this lord until whatever job he has for you is done. So Dunk realizes that if he leaves, the villages are going to be destroyed. Someone has to defend the village, and it ends up Dunk being the champion once again, this time fighting one-on-one in a river, knocked off the horse, almost drowned. It's a great read. But we hear from and if I can find the quote, I would love to find the quote. Sir Eustace Osgrade explaining why he sided with Daemon. Osgood quote. Let's see. So anything you really, I know you haven't read this in a while, but anything you really enjoyed in this book?
We got to see a part of Westeros we don't usually hear about in the books.
Right.
It's kind of cool. Some little bit of fleshing out of the Blackfire Rebellion and all that. And yeah, it's in a sense that this story could have been placed anywhere, I guess, in any franchise, because it's just a classic tale of a knight being a knight. Like I said, it's just a story about a knight.
Yeah, and I really, again, I'm going to say it again. I really believe George, was trying to figure stuff out for the main story, and decided to figure it out through Dunk and Egg. Because again, you don't really hear about the Blackfire in the first book. I don't even think you really hear about it in the second book. It's like the beginning of the third book that you actually hear, or towards the end of the second book, but he didn't plan on the Blackfire Rebellion. And if he did, he didn't really have it figured out until this book. That to me, that shows you how important this book is.
Yeah, you're screen sharing, you're searching and all that, by the way.
Yeah, it's nothing personal. So thank you, though, for letting me know. I'm just trying to find the quotes, but it's such a good quote in that book where Sir Eustace is talking about the battle and how if it just one thing went differently, the day he would have been the good, lord and servant, and she would have been the outlaw. The Sworn. I just always thought it was a very cool quote. If only one of those things. All right. Let's see if we got it. It keeps bringing me there. All right. We'll find it another time. I don't have a lot to say on this one. We could always talk about something completely different.
Yeah,
with this.
There's not much to talk about because of this story. There's more for the next. But I'll try to reread that one before we talk about that one.
Yeah, I have to be honest. I didn't realize how the importance of the Blackfire information was in this one, though, because when I read the first book by itself years ago, and then I got all three in the one book, the Knights of the Seven Kingdoms, I think it's called, or something like that. It's all the three novellas. So I forgot that even the Blackfire stuff was in this. I remember Sir Osgood and the dam and that kind of being boring, but it's all that meta information you find out about Daemon and Daron and the battle that ensued and the breaking up of the Targaryen line, which is pretty cool. You also, something else, Stig, that I found kind of interesting. It might turn into a theory with us. So you have, during the year of the Great Spring Sickness, you have the king, two of his sons, and I think like a couple Targaryens die. Okay. Prior to that, it was always known that Targaryens don't usually get flus and, any of these plagues. There's something about them keeps that away. And you only find out that there might've been two other Targaryens that actually get sick with something that kills them. One is Jaehaerys, their kid. And then somebody else dies of sickness. But the only thing they all have in common, and this is a shout out to Radio Westeros, because they pointed it out, that they weren't dragon riders. So anyone who had a dragon and had that bond never died from some type of sickness. It was only Targaryens that didn't have that dragon bond that died from some type of sickness. So now you got Dany, where they have the pale mare going through the city, and she left, but when she comes back, she makes a comment, like, I'm of the dragon's blood. This won't kill me. I think she has a valid point. It can't kill her because Targaryens that bond with dragons will not die of sickness.
Any stories about dragons dying from sickness? Because I bet there aren't.
I don't know. I don't know. I know that, when the girl didn't she take the Black Dread took her on a ride? I think that's Jaehaerys' kid. And she got like those fire worms in her. I don't know if he got a little sick from that, but you never really hear. The only thing you do hear is as they start to cage the dragons up in the dragon pit and stuff, they get smaller, weaker, and then they get sicker when they're much smaller. Yeah, but like a full-grown, healthy dragon, no.
Yeah, so they don't get sick if they're bonded to a rider, basically, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm. Right. Real quick to answer the Time Prophet. So I am a platinum. I spend so much time in hotels for work. I'm like a platinum diamond studded something. So I get the enhanced Wi-Fi. It doesn't do very well for streaming. It's great for everything else. So I use my phone as a hotspot, and it seems to be working pretty well when I actually have data. So that's how I use that. Never been to a hotel without Wi-Fi. Let's see. Anybody had any questions? I do tend to question anything written in a Maester's POV. Completely agree with you on that. Anything in a Maester's POV is point of view. That is depends on who the Maester is. The only one I think I would believe is Maester Bart.
If you think about it, most of those things in A World of Ice and Fire is written from a Maester's point of view. But you have to think about who's looking over that Maester's shoulder too.
Right. No. That makes complete sense. Think about the World Book, the big one, the big World Book that we have. That is written in a Maester's POV, but he's writing it for the Lannisters, the Baratheons. So he's not as kind when other Maesters may have been to the Targaryens when the Targaryens were in rule. So you got to take those things into effect. Who are they writing for? When are they writing? Who is the Maester? Do we know anything about him? But I don't trust the Maesters one bit. I still believe that they did have some type of conspiracy to either or end magic, and also to get the North wedded to people in the South to greaten the strength of these other areas and diminish the strength of the Targaryens. Because it was the Maester of Rickon Stark that whispered in his ear, we hear this from Lady Dustin, that he started looking south for matches for his sons and daughters. Before most lords of Winterfell would marry in the North one of his, vassals' children or even a cousin. But he, after talking to his Maester, decided to go, to the Baratheons, to the Tullys. And there was another one. Probably Ned would have maybe been Starfall. You never know. So, yes, do not believe the Maesters. What do you say?
Agreed. Because they're they may get the basic events, but they embellish everything around it in favor of whoever's, like I said, looking over their shoulder at that time.
Right. So this question or this statement's talking about, doing any of the shows. We have the show coming out that is Blood of the Dragon, supposed to take place during the Dance of Dragons. I don't know why they just didn't start at the Conquest and move on, but whatever. So we got the Dance of Dragons. I mean, will they have to retcon anything? I'm trying to think, what will George previously written have to change?
Oh, I think he's talking about the show.
Oh, so the main show or the... Oh, okay.
I think he's replying to what I said about the show and the upcoming shows having... You'll get issues, right?
Yes.
Because they messed up the main series.
Right. Yeah.
And this is also what happened to Star Wars. Same crap.
Absolutely. Too many cooks in the kitchen. No respect for the source material. I mean, Star Wars, they even said it didn't exist. I mean, think about that.
They hired bloggers with the right political opinions and let them write Star Wars, even though they did not know the source material at all. If you do that, you get a mess.
Right. You're absolutely right. Lord Krakenhead, George planned on 3 books with a 5-year time jump between book 2 and 3. But when he was writing the second book, he realized this is going to be longer. And I want to say, when does Arya meet Ned Dane. Is that in the second or the beginning of the third book? She meets Ned Dane along the way when she's with the Band Without Brothers, or
No,
yeah.
That's book 3.
Is that book 3 when she's on her way to?
Yeah, book 2 is when she ends up at Harrenhal and stuff, and I think her chapters ends when she gets out of Harrenhal. Then book 3,
Okay.
she's with the Brotherhood, and then the Hound grabs her, takes her to the Twins.
Right, and all that shenanigans follows. Okay. Yeah, he planned on 3 books. It wasn't until he got into book 2 that he realized it was going to be longer. He, like a character like Ned, the reason why I brought up Ned Dane is a character like Ned Dane in one book was 12, but if he did a 5-year jump in the next book, he would have been 17 and probably able to wield Dawn. And that is the reason why we got the other Dane, the black, the hell's his name? Yeah. Black Star? Dark Star.
Also interesting that he's called Ned Dane. I wonder who they named him after and why.
Well, I mean, he says it, right? He says that pretty much the story he tells, Arya is about, Ned and his aunt being in love. So if Ned, Ned killed his uncle, do you really think they would have named him after him, right?
Yeah.
I sometimes still think Arthur Dane is still alive, and he's north of the wall.
No, I don't think he's north of the wall.
Some people believe he's Mance. I don't know about that, but I feel like
Mance wasn't a kick-ass fighter,
right? Well, he was a damn good. No, he was, because don't forget when John is. I don't know if John's sparring with him or what, but John says in an instant his hands were like a blur. So he was a pretty damn good fighter. More people think he would be the Rhaegar character, than the Arthur Dane character.
Would Arthur Dane know how to play a harp, though?
No, but Rhaegar would. And Rhaegar and Arthur Dane also uses, or not Arthur Dane, Mance also uses the name of when he's sneaking into Winterfell, he uses the name of a, old story about a guy who sneaks in and pretends to be somebody else, the Bard. And actually, they think he steals the daughter, Bael the Bard, right? Thinks he steals the daughter away, but really takes her down in the crypt and gets her knocked up. I always love that story. Targaryens don't wear masks. Come on. They're better than that. Lord Krakenhead says, makes sense in the way the bond is clearly magical, so maybe the blood of the dragon can't get sick. COVID immune. I believe that's what they were implying on Radio Westeros, which is an awesome channel. They do such great breakdowns of whatever they're doing it on. They do a 2-hour breakdown puts me to shame. They got Stig quality knowledge. And they are impressive. They really were more of a free form. They are definitely scripted, but they do discuss that, which is interesting. Check them out, though. If you have not subscribed to Radio Westeros, check them out and tell them I sent you, even though they don't know me. Should retcon Sean Bean back to life? Yeah, he dies in every movie, right, Stig? Darkstar, yes.
Yeah, kind of.
Darren, like my father before me.
The only one who's had more on-screen deaths than Sean Bean, do you know who that is?
Liam Neeson?
Nope. Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee? Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Saruman.
Yeah.
Right, he's Saruman. That's Christopher Lee, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Saruman, Dooku, a bunch of Dracula movies. He dies in those,
Oh yeah, that's right.
He dies in the Musketeer movie.
Actor.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the Musketeer movies from the 70s,
I was just about to ask you what movie.
yeah, go watch them. It's the Three
Are they
Musketeers.
classic ones?
Yeah, they follow the books to a sense. Yeah, insane cast on those. It's the Three Musketeers from 1973, and then the Four Musketeers from 74.
Oh, really?
Them watched. Yeah, get them watched. It's the best version of that story.
Oh, I never knew he did one of those. I love Christopher Lee's a great actor.
Yeah, it has Christopher Lee playing Rochefort, who's one of the villains. You have Faye Dunaway in it, Charlton Heston, Raquel Welch, Michael York, Oliver Reed.
Oh my God!
Richard Chamberlain is in it.
Jeez, there's a lot of people, huh?
Yeah, it's the biggest names of that decade, really.
That's crazy. That's awesome. So open forum to the chat. If anybody has a question for Stig or myself, put Sporking question and just ask away. Mostly if it's a Song of Ice and Fire, like Game of Thrones, the show, the books, anything, or just a random question will be fine. We're going to probably go for another 15 minutes or so and then wrap it up. What should we discuss next week though, Stig? Should we go to book 3?
Yeah, why not? Just finish it up.
All right. And we'll both be more prepared for that one.
Yeah. Also, Christopher Lee also got killed by gremlins in Gremlins 2.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That is right. What else did he play in there? He was like not a wraith or a ghost. No, I'm thinking of somebody else. Who was in I don't know if that movie is called Castle Rock, but it is a horror film by oh my God, the guy who wrote Stand By Me.
Stephen King?
Yeah, Stephen King. It takes place in Castle Rock, where a guy comes to town and starts offering, to make people's dreams come true, but they have to do something for him.
Oh, Needful Things.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
It was,
that was Max von Sydow, I think.
Well, I'm thinking of, yeah. You know what? You might be right. With Ed Helms is in it, I believe. Yeah. He's like the sheriff of the town. Let's see. Is that the film where Roy Kinnear died falling from horseback?
No, that was Return of the Musketeers. They did a sequel in the 80s, and Roy Kinnear, who played D'Artagnan's servant, fell off the horse during shooting and died in front of him from internal bleeding.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, you can tell how it affects the movie because everyone's the energy is not there, right?
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Wow. Great English. Roy Kinnear was a great English comedian.
Yeah, his son is in the Daniel Craig Bond movies. Plays one of the MI6 guys. Also played the.
Oh, is he Q?
No.
Oh, okay.
Another guy, and he also played the Frankenstein monster on Penny Dreadful.
Oh, I love that dude. He's a great actor.
Yeah.
Did you watch Penny Dreadful? Did you watch that series? I love that series.
Oh yes, it was awesome.
I actually just finished it 2 days ago.
I haven't watched the new one though. With
they already canceled it, but I watched a couple episodes with Marjorie Tyrell. I actually liked the premise of it. It takes place in LA in the 30s, I think. But it would look like it was going to be good, but they canceled it. She can't catch a break. She never gets in shows that actually last, except for Game of Thrones, of course.
I see a couple of people liking those Musketeer movies I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
In 1990, they made a TV version of Treasure Island. The old book. Mm-hmm. It has a lot of the Musketeer cast in it. It has Charlton Heston is in it. You have Christian Bale actually playing Jim Hawkins.
Oh wow!
Very young, very young Christian Bale. You have Oliver Reed and Christopher Lee is in it. You have Julian Glover, who plays Pycelle, is in it. And
Oh,
Lord
he's in this version?
Yeah, Lord Commander Mormont is in it too.
So wait a minute, who's the main characters in it, the actors?
Christopher Lee, Christian Bale and Charlton Heston. They're the main ones. But it's stuffed with many of the same actors, and they did the book as it was written, pretty much. So they nailed it. It's the closest thing you'll get to the Treasure Island novel.
Oh, I don't think I've ever saw that one. If
you haven't seen it, watch it. It's made for TV, but you can't tell.
Right. If you guys haven't watched Penny Dreadful, I think it's only like 3 seasons, maybe 4. The first set of them, and then there's one season of a different like version of it. But I thought it was fantastic. I think the second to last season kind of got away from him a little bit when the one dude goes away.
Yeah.
But really, I think that was their biggest mistake for the show. I think people lost a little bit of interest in that, but it ended pretty damn well. And it could have gone on and dragged it a little bit more to do it a little more justice. But the actors in that were really good. The one who plays the main female in it, her name's Green, I think. Ava Green. She is amazing.
Yeah, she is. She's a Bond girl, actually. She was in
which one was she in?
Casino Royale.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she was in the second 300 movie and the second Sin City.
Yes, she was hot in the second, both. I check that out. I do like faithful adaptations. Thanks. You are welcome from Stig Kenobi. Did anyone like The Strand? I watched the first 2 seasons of The Strand. I just got away from it, but it's not that I didn't like it. It's a different view of vampires, and I love vampire movies no matter what, or shows. The only one I really hated was Sparkles, but that's because, they sparkled in the sun. That's ridiculous. But it was different. You ever watch The Strain?
No, I've never seen it. But did you watch Black Sails?
Black Sails. I saw the first episode of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a prequel to Treasure Island, actually. But it's kind of like Game of Thrones with pirates.
Right. So, real quick, Mason, that is the different version of Penny Dreadful. There's two shows called Penny Dreadful, both created by the same people. The original one takes place in turn of the century London. The one you're talking about is the one where I kind of turned off too. I watched the first episode and saw what they were kind of doing there. I guess it has its points for doing it for some reason, but it's almost like a devil, whispering in the ears of, but yeah, they kind of did the whole woke Trump thing. But check out the previous seasons for the other show is just called Penny Dreadful. I want to say that one's called Penny Dreadful something. But yeah, check it out, man. You'll like it. Ava Green first saw her in Camelot, or maybe Casino Royale was first. Camelot. I don't remember her in Camelot.
She was in the Camelot show that got canceled after one season.
Was that a BBC one or something like that?
Yeah, she played Morgan Le Fay.
Okay. Yeah, Black Sails I did not see. Monty Python rules, but Black Sails, I think I saw the one episode of it. And The Strain, I do like The Strain. It's just I haven't had time, but it's an interesting idea of how, vampirism or vampirism actually transmits between people. Have you noticed in newer vampire tellings, they treat it more as a bloodborne pathogen or a disease than anything magical or mystical when it comes to being a vampire?
The vampires have been turned from monsters to emo teens.
Right.
That's what's happened.
Yep. No, you're right. You want to know a good? Oh, go ahead.
Vampirism now spreads through soy. The more soy you are, the greater the chance of becoming a vampire.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Mm.
So I don't know if you have Amazon Prime, but I don't know Utopia Falls, but there is a show called Utopia, and it is weird and it is awesome. If you have not seen the show Utopia, check it out on Amazon Prime. Let me just a hint. It starts out with a comic book, and it just takes left turns here and there. I'm telling you, very cool, very cool. I don't know if anybody check it out. Put a Y in the chat. That is a cool one, man. You should check it out, Stig. It's different. It's definitely a different show, and I think it may get a second season. I don't know. That means there is a lot of vampires in America, ATM, and they are all blue. Yeah, I didn't say it. He said it. I didn't say it. But we're going to wrap this up. Stig, as always, thank you. If you didn't come, I would have been here by myself. So I appreciate you being here to talk to me. I know it's probably like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning there. So I really appreciate it, man.
It's all good.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Yes, please. Raised by Wolves. Did you watch that yet? I haven't watched that either.
No. It's been on my radar though, but I decided to try and catch up on The Walking Dead.
Oh, my wife just decided to start that over like a week ago. She started it all over from the beginning.
I like the season when they're at the farm. I think it's season 2.
That's I think that's one of my favorite seasons too.
Yeah.
With Shane still alive and stuff.
Yeah, and
did I just spoil that? Sorry.
Sophia is in the barn.
They're always looking for her. They're always looking for her.
If any of you are wondering where Jayne and Christie and Tauriel are, they're in the barn with Sophia.
They're in the barn. We're looking for them, but they're in the barn. McKinney, can you drop the Fandom Menace book stuff for Steven, please? I can't say this enough, guys. Please, if you have not supported him, I just bought donated my money for my signed copy. I think it's like only $30. I think it turned out to $35. You can get the $25 one. Let's at least help him get back to even. So, or even succeed way past what he believed. I just think it's important, like you said, Stig, to document. We need to document, because if you haven't noticed, this year has showed me more than any other year where somebody says something in March, and by the mid-April, they have completely flipped what they said and will never admit that they said it, even though they're on film.
Yeah, and they don't have to, because the sheep will defend it.
Exactly. They cover them. So we have to keep tabs on that. And we have Steven. He is the author. And please, guys, support him any way you can. So this is the link. If you can't support him financially, copy this link and share it. Facebook, Twitter, wherever you can. Share it. Let's get some eyes on it. Hopefully people will want to support a content creator. But please, guys, couldn't be a better guy trying to sell a book that at some point one of those volumes will have me in it, and I'm stoked. Stig, where can they find you on the YouTube with over now 500 subs, I believe, right?
Nah, a little bit below. But I'm not a YouTuber. I don't care about subs and all that stuff. But I like talking to people about nerdy things and all that, and it seems to happen on YouTube a lot. So that's why I'm on YouTube. I just like talking to people.
Well, I appreciate that you like talking to me, man. I always enjoy our conversations. Neither one of us, and we're going to be honest, neither one of us did. We just thought of the idea of doing this book. We were planning on doing this book, but we just decided to do it today. couple hours ago. So I hope we gave you some information. Next week, maybe I'll do a little more reading. And if there's anything we missed out on, or if you guys find anything, let me know and we'll fill it in. But the mystery night is next week. You can watch it on YouTube by like an audiobook version. It's a quick read if you want to read it, but it'd be nice, people in the chat, check it out. I'll try to link or send out the YouTube channel that reads it so you guys can listen to it and you can follow along with us and have some questions. And hopefully we'll have some of the ladies back on with us next week. Stig, as always, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. You rock, man. I really, this is going to sound corny, but I appreciate your friendship. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yes, thank you. And thank you to the Time Prophet, Brutal Morningwood, Tina Bojan, of course, a channel member, McKinney90, turning out to be probably the best mod. Sorry, Tommy. He's going for your crown. Bone, Lord Krakenhead 33. I know Darren, like my father before me, is here somewhere. We had Steven, we had Mason. Mason has a channel, guys. Make sure you check out his channel. Time Prophet, I said. If I'm missing anyone, I'm really sorry. Teresa, of course, Teresa. God, sorry. Teresa, Miss Martin Muses. Check out her channel. Runner from Runner Studios. Check out his channel. And I think that may be everybody. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Again, guys, like, share, subscribe. And with that, stick a spork. I always want to say fork. Spork in it. We're done. Good night, everybody.
Good night.